The real life. When I was young, I thought life was simple. My mother owned a large company, so I never worried about anything. I did not study hard. I did not work. I had everything I wanted. If I saw an expensive watch, I just told my mother, and the next day, it was mine. If I wanted a new sports car, I got the best one. My friends often talked about the future, about getting a job, but I just laughed. Why should I work? Why should I plan? My mother had enough money for my entire life. That is what I thought. Every morning, I woke up when the sun was high in the sky. A maid brought my breakfast to my bed. Then, I would watch movies or play video games for hours. In the afternoon, I went out with my friends. We spent money without thinking. We went to the most exclusive clubs, ate at the most expensive restaurants, and bought the newest designer clothes. Life was a party that never ended. I thought it would always be this way. I never thought about my mother's work. I only knew that she was always busy. She often left for work before I woke up and came home after I was asleep. I never asked her about her company. I did not care. I only cared about the credit card she gave me. I only thought about the fun of today. I never worried about tomorrow. One day, after a big party with my friends, I came home very late. I thought my mother was asleep, but she was sitting in the living room. The lights were on, and her face looked very serious. "Leo, sit down. We need to talk," she said. Her voice was very different. It was not warm like it usually was. I felt a little nervous, but I tried to act normal. "Yes, Mom. What is it?" I asked, sitting on the sofa across from her. She did not answer right away. She just looked at me. Her eyes made me feel uncomfortable. "Do you know how much money you spent tonight?" she asked. I shrugged. "I don't know. Probably not that much." My mother shook her head. A sad smile appeared on her lips. "Not that much? You spent an amount of money that a normal worker has to work a whole year to earn, in just one night." I did not know what to say. For the first time, I felt a little ashamed. "Leo," she continued, "you are not a child anymore. You are 22 years old. You must think about your future." I laughed, a nervous laugh. "But I have you, Mom. We have everything we need." "No, my son," she said, her voice becoming firm. "You have everything because I work hard, but I will not be here forever. Money does not grow on trees. It comes from sweat and effort. I think it is time for you to learn that lesson." I did not understand what she meant. I thought maybe she just had a bad day at the office. I said, "Don't worry so much, Mom. Everything will be fine." She looked at me for a long time again. "We will see," she said. "Tomorrow, wake up early. Be ready at 6 a.m. I will be waiting for you." After saying that, she stood up and went to her bedroom, leaving me alone in the large living room. I did not think much about her words. I thought she was just angry for a moment. I went to bed and quickly forgot about our conversation. The next morning, I was awakened by a knock on my door. The maid told me my mother was waiting for me downstairs. I looked at the clock. It was only 6 a.m. I felt annoyed, but I got up. I put on my usual clothes and went downstairs. My mother was already dressed for work. She handed me a set of simple clothes. "Wear these," she said. "Why, where are we going?" I asked. "To a place you should have known a long time ago," she answered. I did not ask any more questions. I changed into the simple work clothes. We did not take my luxury car. Instead, we got into an old pickup truck. My mother drove. She did not drive toward the city center, where her office was. She drove to an industrial area on the edge of town. The air here was different. The roads were dusty, and there were many large factories. I saw workers walking quickly. Their faces looked tired. My mother stopped the car in front of a large, old building. There was a big sign on top: Golden Grain Bakery, Production Plant. This was my mother's company. I had heard the name, but I had never been here. "What are we doing here?" I asked. "This is where it all begins," my mother said. "Not from the shiny office, but from here." She led me inside. A wave of hot air and the smell of baked bread hit my face. The noise from the machines was so loud I had to shout to talk. There were many workers, all wearing uniforms like mine. They moved quickly, each person doing their job. Some were mixing dough, some were putting bread into ovens, and others were packing the hot loaves of bread. No one had time to rest. No one was chatting. They just worked, hard and focused. I had never seen anything like this before. My mother pointed to an older man who was carrying heavy sacks of flour. "Look at him," my mother said. "He has worked here for 20 years. He wakes up at 4 a.m. every day. He works hard to feed his family, to send his children to school." Then she pointed to a woman who was quickly putting bread into bags. She is a single mother. She works 10 hours a day to pay her rent and buy food for her 2 small children. She never complains. I was silent. I looked at the workers. I saw the sweat on their foreheads. I saw their calloused hands. For the first time in my life, I felt that my own life was so extravagant and meaningless. I felt small and useless. We went back to the car. My mother did not speak. She just drove. I sat quietly, thinking. The images of the hard-working people stayed in my mind. My life was so easy, but now I felt ashamed of it. My mother did not take me home. She drove to the company's main office. It was a tall, modern skyscraper. I had been there a few times to get money. She took me up to her office. It was huge and had a view of the entire city. But today, she did not sit in her director's chair. She led me to a large open-plan work area where many employees were busy with computers and phones. A man with a serious look approached us. He wore glasses and looked very busy. "This is Mr. Harrison," my mother said. "He is the production manager. From tomorrow, you will work under his supervision." Then she turned to Mr. Harrison. "Treat him like any new employee, no special favors." Mr. Harrison nodded, looking me up and down. "Hello," he said coldly. I was shocked. "Work? Here? I don't need to work," I said to my mother. My mother shook her head. "You do," she said. Because one day I will be gone. What will you do then? How will you live? I did not know how to answer. I had never thought about a life without my mother. I had never thought about the future. I had never thought about anything except my own comfort. But now, I had no choice. My mother had decided. Tomorrow, my life would change. The next morning, I had to wake up at 5 a.m. It felt strange. I was used to sleeping in, but now I had to go to work. I put on the worker's uniform and went downstairs. My mother was waiting. She handed me a lunchbox. "Your lunch," she said. I looked at her in surprise. "Can't I eat at a restaurant?" She shook her head. "Workers bring their own lunch. And today, you are a worker." We drove to the factory. My mother did not take me to the office area. She took me straight to the packing line. Mr. Harrison was there. "From today, you will work here, Mr. Harrison said, pointing to an empty spot on the line. "Your job is to put these loaves of bread into bags, and then put them into boxes. You must be fast and careful." He placed a stack of plastic bags and a large roll of tape in front of me. "Begin," he said, and walked away. I looked at the moving conveyor belt. Hot loaves of bread kept coming. I started the work. At first, it seemed easy. But after an hour, my back began to hurt. My arms were sore. The loaves of bread all looked the same. I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. Everyone around me was working. No one was resting, no one was talking. This was not my old life. This was work. By lunchtime, I was exhausted. I opened my lunchbox. It was just rice, some boiled vegetables, and a small piece of chicken. There were no fancy dishes, no expensive drinks. I ate alone in silence. I watched the other workers. They ate very quickly, then tried to take a short nap before going back to work. There were no fun conversations, no long breaks, just work. I missed my old life. I missed my freedom, but I also felt something new. It was respect. These people worked so hard every day, and now I was one of them. The afternoon was even harder. My back hurt so much, my hands had blisters. I wanted to stop. I wanted to go home, but I couldn't. Mr. Harrison walked by sometimes, glancing at my work. He said nothing, but his stern look made me afraid to slow down. When the workday finally ended, I felt like a different person. I was tired, but something inside me had changed. For the first time, I understood how hard people worked. For the first time, I understood that money did not come easily. As I walked out of the factory, I saw my mother waiting for me. She did not ask me how my day was. She only smiled. And for the first time in my life, I smiled back. Not because life was easy, but because I had earned that smile. The next day, I woke up early again. My body was sore, my hands were stiff. I had never felt this way before. I wanted to stay in bed, but I couldn't ton. I had to work. When I arrived at the factory, Mr. Harrison was waiting. He did not smile. "You were very slow yesterday," he said. "Today, be faster." I wanted to argue, but I didn't. I just sat down and started my work. The bread was in front of me again. My back still hurt. My hands still stung, but I worked. I did not stop. By noon, I had finished my task faster than the day before. Mr. Harrison came to check. He frowned, inspecting every box I had packed. "Better," he said. Just one word, but it made me feel great. It felt better than buying something expensive. It felt like I had done something real. During lunch, I sat with a few other workers. They started talking to me. They asked about me, but I just said I was a new employee. They talked about their families, about their problems. They laughed. I listened to them. I had never thought about people like them before. But now, I was sitting with them. I was one of them. The days passed. Then weeks, then months. I worked every day. It was very hard at first. My body ached, my mind felt tired. But slowly, I got used to it. I worked faster. I made fewer mistakes. Mr. Harrison still did not smile, but he stopped complaining. Sometimes he even said, "Good job." Those words felt better than any gift I had ever received. I started to understand money. Before, I only spent it. Now, I saw how hard it was to earn. I started to watch everything in the factory. I asked other workers how the machines worked. I asked Mr. Harrison about the production schedule. Slowly, I saw the factory not just as a place of work, but as a complex system where people and machines work together to create a product. One afternoon, one of the machines on the packing line broke down. Everything became chaotic. Everyone was worried. I remembered a conversation with one of the maintenance workers. He had shown me a small part that often got stuck. I bravely went to Mr. Harrison and pointed it out. It turned out that was exactly the problem. They fixed it in a few minutes, and the line started working again. Mr. Harrison looked at me. For the first time, I saw a bit of surprise in his eyes. He said nothing, but he nodded at me. A few weeks later, my mother called me to her office. "Mr. Harrison has told me about you," she said. "He says you learn very quickly. You are not the lazy boy you used to be." I did not know what to say. I just felt proud. "I think it's time for you to learn a different role," she said. "Starting next week, you will work in the warehouse, learning to manage inventory and plan deliveries. You will work directly with Mr. Harrison." It was a big step up. The new job was much harder. I had to learn to use a computer, to work with numbers and spreadsheets. I made many mistakes, but I did not give up. Mr. Harrison was a strict teacher, but he was also very patient. He taught me everything carefully. I learned a lot from him. Another 6 months passed. I had been at the company for almost a year. I had changed. I no longer spent money carelessly. I valued what I had. I respected working people. One evening, my mother called me into her office. She looked very happy. "Congratulations on your first year of work, Leo," she said. She put a thick folder on the table. "This is the company's business report," she said. "I want you to read it." She started explaining the numbers to me about profits, costs, and the challenges the company was facing. For the first time, I understood how hard and stressful my mother's job was. She was not just a person with money. She was a person who had built all of this with her own hands and mind. After she finished, she handed me a key. "What is this?" I asked. "It is the key to a small office next to Mr. Harrison's," she said. "I have a project for you. Our production plant is old. I want you to develop a plan to improve its efficiency. You will work with Mr. Harrison to make this happen." I held the key in my hand. It was small, but it felt very heavy. It was not just a key. It was trust. The next day, I moved into my new office. It wasn't big, but it was mine. I had my own desk, my own work. I was no longer just a worker. I was learning how to be a manager. The work was not easy. I made mistakes. I had bad days. But I never gave up. I kept working, kept learning. I wanted to be like my mother. I wanted to build something of my own. Looking back, I laugh at my old self. I used to think life was easy. I used to think money was simple, but I was wrong. Life is work. Life is effort. Life is building something with your own hands. My mother taught me that, and now I am ready for the future. Not because I have money, but because I have learned how to earn it.